Good morning and welcome to this week's edition of NCompass Live. I am your host, Krista Porter, here at the Nebraska Library Commission. NCompass Live is the Commission's weekly webinar series where we cover a variety of topics that may be of interest to libraries. We broadcast the show live every Wednesday morning at 10 a.m. Central Time. But if you're unable to join us on Wednesdays, that's fine. We do record the show as we are doing today, and it will be available for you to watch later at your convenience in our show archives. And I will show you at the end of today's show where you can access all of those recordings. Both the live show and the recordings are free and open to anyone to watch. So please do share with your friends, family, neighbors, colleagues, anyone you think might be interested in any of the topics we have on NCompass Live. For those of you not from Nebraska, the Nebraska Library Commission is the state agency for libraries, so similar to your whatever state library. So we provide training and consulting and databases and grants and resources to all types of libraries in the state. So you will find shows on NCompass Live for all types of libraries. Public, academic, K-12, corrections, museums, historical societies. Really the only criteria is that it's something to do with libraries. We have Nebraska Library Commission staff sometimes come on the show to talk about programs and resources and services we offer here through the Commission, but we also bring in guest speakers, and that is what we are doing today. With us is Kelly Kenny. Good morning, Kelly.
Hey.
Hey, and she is joining us again to talk about Canva. It was, I think, in 2023, the last time that she was with us to talk about being a Canvaholic and how she uses that in her work. And now it's been a few years and time for an update for any new things and what she's been doing with Canva. I use Canva here at the Library Commission. We use it among other things, but I love it. So I'm definitely interested to hearing more about what Kelly's been doing in it for quite a few years. So I'll hand it over to you, Kelly, to fully introduce yourself and tell us all about being the joys of being a Canvaholic.
Being in love. Thank you. And thanks for having me back. My presentation obviously here says I'm still a Canvaholic because nothing has changed in the past years. I still use it every day. But I've been able to expand my usage of it, and we'll dive into a little bit of using some of their newer features like AI, and also I've started to use it with my students and having them use it within their instruction in my library classroom. So just to get started, let's see, here we go, does this work? There we go. My name is Kelly Kenny, and I like to say I'm a Canvaholic. You know, there's shopaholics, chocoholics, but which I am, both of those, but I love Canva. I am an elementary school librarian here in Omaha, Nebraska, with a K-6 building. And then I also oversee 10 other elementary schools within our district, just kind of oversee them. We are a pretty technology-heavy district. We have been a one-to-one district since, I believe, 2007 is when we started at the high school level, and we're one-to-one, but we've been one-to-one K-12 for the past 11 or 12 years. So our students have always had access to a lot of technology, which has always been really great. And then now that we have access to Canva, obviously, I think it's even better. Just a little bit about my life as an elementary librarian here in Omaha. It's very unique, even compared to the Omaha metro area. I'm a part of the specialist rotation. I have 7 classes a day with checkouts built in with our classes. We teach lessons. We also grade and assess every quarter. And we do this all with ourselves and no para. So we're busy here in the library, but one of the reasons why I love Canva is because I can do things quick and easy, which makes my life so much easier. Anytime I can do something fast and easy, I'm going to use it because my life is chaotic as it is. So that's kind of about me. Just going back to how I was introduced to Canva and where it all started. Here in Omaha, every spring they host the Nebraska Technology Education Conference, NETA. And back in 2016, I was able to go and I heard about Canva and I was like, oh, this is really cool. Because at that point, you know, you're using Pages, maybe. I was a big Prezi fan back in the day to create some stuff. But then I saw this Canva stuff and I was like, wow, this is really cool. So you can actually see on the left side of the screen, that is my very first Canva design. I had this brilliant idea. The school I was teaching at was called Paddock Road and we were the Pandas. And that was about the time we were getting really heavy in the one-to-one. And I was like, I'm going to create a student tech team that can go around and like help teachers in classroom, like with some of the basic issues. So I created this poster for my student tech team. Fun fact, it never ended up coming to fruition because life, but it was a great idea. And then you can see one of my more recent posters on the right side for my book genres. Last spring, my project for my fiction section was to start genrefying for my students so they could easily identify different types of books that they like. So I wanted something, I'm an elementary teacher, so it has to be cute and colorful. I wanted something for my students to see, like, oh, if I want orange or fantasy books, I'm going to go look for orange, and giving them a little clues. And then the sign is throughout my library. So this is something different. And just knowing from experience where I started, which was basically pop a picture in and add words, to where I ended up looking at this book genre. Just to give you a clue of how I made it, there's 3 different bookshelves pieced together. There's different book stacks that I found that I colored. Then I found graphics to go with each of the different genres, which I colored to match the stacks. And then my font at the top is 2 different ones, but individual colors, individual letters, layered on top, stuck together, all put together in one piece. So starting from something super simple to, probably took way too much time to make this, but it looks cute. So that's how it is. So just a glimpse of my Canva creations. If you go into my Canva account, which at the end of today we might see, you'll just see document after document after document. And I have the education version, which we'll kind of talk about a little bit here, but I'm using it from everything to slideshows when I'm teaching my kids about copyright and fair use. I'm using it for our Read Across America week. I'm using it for book challenges. I'm using it for my little kids' birthday party invitations or like Christmas cards. I'm using it for basically everything and anything. So when I go to work in the morning, I have my Google Chrome with my Today slides. I have my Today slides. I have my Google Drive. I have my email, and then I always have Canva up and ready for me because at some point I will go to it throughout the day.
Mm-hmm.
So today, just to give background, there's different types of Canva accounts. I'm not familiar where you're at and what you're using, but there's the basic Canva free version. And then there's Canva Education, which is also free, and that goes through most likely your school district. And then I've learned there's Canva Nonprofit, which is also a free version for any 501(c) nonprofit organizations.
That would be something for our public libraries.
Yes, yeah. And I was working with another Nebraska organization recently, and they were like, is it for any? And I said, I did ask this on ChatGPT, so we have to confirm, but according to what I have found, it is free for nonprofit organizations. So, and then there is a paid version. It's $13 per month for a person, or then there's also a Canvas business side. And I will say from experience, me personally, I think it's worth, if you do have to go to the paid version, I 100% believe it's worth the money, but then again, I'm using it every day almost. If it's not something in your wheelhouse that you cannot do, there's a lot of workarounds I've discovered, because when I first started using Canva, I thought I was in education, and then some of my coworkers were doing things, and I was like, wait, I don't see that, I can't do that. And so I wasn't actually, but so some workarounds, you can create teams, and if you're on a team with someone that's on a paid version, when you have a document with that paid version account for that person, you'll have access to everything on the paid version side of stuff. I also would do the free trial for the paid version for the month, and I would create a whole bunch of stuff, and then right before I was charged, I'd cancel it. I think I did that like 3 or 4 times, and they never like told me not to do it, so I kept doing it. So,
and what is nice too, if you're not sure about doing free or paid, because I did a personal account when I first was testing this out myself, a free one, of course, and we now here through the commission, we have a paid one. But you can see when you're in the free one, or what you would be able to use if you paid. There's a little markers on certain graphics or picture photos or whatever, or certain settings. So you can see, oh, if I had the paid, this is what I have. And then you can decide, do I really need that? Is that something I need to pay for? You know, so you can get an idea of what you would get when you're just using the free one also.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that because that reminds me, like there was a graphic I really wanted and I was on the free version. And if like I was desperate enough and I liked it enough, I paid $1 to have access to that just one graphic.
Apply for just one particular graphic, right, yeah.
So that's also something like if you are on the free version and you just want to collect a few things here and there, that's definitely an option to do. Yeah. So today I kind of broke up our presentation into two different parts. The first one is just the basic tips. A lot of this is going to be similar to my first Canva presentation a couple years ago. Not a whole lot has changed by this, but I just think they're good tips that people don't always know, and they make your life easier when using Canva. And then we'll jump into some of the more recent Canva updates that they've pushed out in the past year or so. And at the end of this presentation, you'll have access to this whole slideshow, all the links, there's videos of how to do different steps and step-by-step directions. So you'll have access to this after the slideshow today.
Yes.
So starting with basic tips, I always talk to people about when they're creating, it is kind of overwhelming, like where do you start? And I always say, start with a template that's already made. Someone else went through, made something cool, use that as a starting point. So like, for example, this slideshow that I'm using today, I did not create any of the backgrounds, the post-its, the stickers. It's pre-made. I thought it was cool. And then I used it and I did tweak based on my needs, but at least I had like a starting ground or a foundation. As a teacher, some of the top search ideas that I use, I search for education presentation, worksheets, calendars, library reading, and then you can also narrow down by what type of document you want. So I'm specifically looking for a worksheet, I'm looking for a flyer, I'm looking for a presentation. You can also narrow down by colors and all sorts of things. If I have something for a specific theme, I'll definitely search by that theme. This past couple years ago, we do One School and Book, and we were using the Lemonade War as our book for the school. So everything I was searching for creating that project was all like lemons or lemonade, and I could narrow down just a template based on that theme. So I start from there and then adapt to my needs. Text and the fonts and tips. If you haven't used, I'm assuming at least have somewhat familiar with Canva, the amount of fonts they have is insane. I was just showing my students yesterday in 5th grade when we were editing. I said the fonts, there's like thousands and thousands, and it's sometimes hard to choose. So my favorite game to play is randomly scrolling through. So when I get to my font, I'll just scroll and then I'll force myself to stop, and then I have to choose a font from that like window that I see, because otherwise I am the type of person that will spend hours just trying to choose a font, which is so silly. But the other things to think about is like making sure my patrons can read it. I love the cursive cute things, but then I have to remember I have like 5, 6, 7-year-olds trying to read sometimes, so I can't actually use those fonts. And I try to mix my fonts, so I'll do like something very basic, but then I'll do a script kind of cursive font. I'll do something really bold and something thin, so I try to balance out 2 different fonts and not use the same font for everything. And something I think I feel pretty strongly about is like choosing a brand font for all your important items like your signage. I am very fortunate, and we just moved into a brand new school about a month ago. So I have a brand new beautiful library, but that takes a lot of time to get ready and all new signage and where things go. So I made sure I have a brand font. I believe I use Bobby Jones as my font. Bobby Jones is probably my go-to, like bold basic. So that means all of my signage in the library is the same. I try to do my important notices in the same, just so it's kind of even like a trigger when you see that font. Oh, that's something from library. And they can make a connection with it right away. But most importantly, I think when you're using your different fonts, just have fun with it and make it unique. So we're going to get into some different actual design tips. There's going to be a video on each slide, and it's going to go through fast. So that's why I want to make sure you do have access to this at a later time if you want to come back to watch. There are just step-by-step directions. Might look a little different because Canva keeps updating and I can't keep up with all their updates, but basically the same thing. So this is about formatting when you actually get into design a document. I'm a person that I love to see the rulers to guide my design, to see, am I placing things evenly around the document? So to do that pretty quick, all I have to go is to file and show rulers. You can also do the margins and print bleed as well. This one is one of my favorite go-to tips, is to lock the items you don't want to move. So you can see this is like a document with a whole bunch of different layers. And sometimes when you go in to either try and move something or click on something, you grab something you don't want, and then you end up moving that and it just becomes a pain. So what I'll do is I'll select all the things I want stuck and I've frozen there. And then you can go to the 3 dots and then you can lock the item. So now when I'm trying to move things around, it's all stuck and I won't actually be able to move any of that like notebook paper in the background or the tabs. Then I can customize whatever on top without worrying about shifting something in the wrong location.
Yeah, it can be very, very picky.
Yes,
yeah.
Yes. And I mean, like even just looking at lists, so like this little red piece is one, the circle is another, and then each of them are all individual. And then you have your rectangle, and then you have all the little squares, and those are layered. And so there's just so many different parts that sometimes I'll just take what I want, lock it, and then go on top of it, like make it a new layer, so to speak, because it's a lot. And that kind of goes in with the next step is grouping things. So if I want something to go together like this tape with the text, I'll just select both items and then group them. So when you group them, then you can move it all as one piece. You can also resize them together rather than making the tape big and then the font big. When you group items together, they become one big item for you to move around and shift.
You already know you want those things to stay together no matter where they go.
Yep. And so I'll do that with like different text boxes or different images. Sometimes what I'll do is I'll group a selection of things. I'll move them off the side a little bit. Then I can work on my document and then I can pull them back in to like get them where I want. So it's kind of also nice just to, I like this, I just want it out of the way right now. Shove it there and then I can come back to fix it. So then this one I need to remember more, but formatting tips, you can make things evenly lined up so you don't have to actually use those rulers to like make it a nice line. When you select items, you can align them so they're all in like the middle of the page, top of the page. You can also go to space evenly and then tidy up and it will space them all evenly in one line. It's not just for images, it's also for text box. So when I'm doing like multiple text box or bullet points, sometimes I'll have like different text box for each bullet. I will have Canva do the lining up so that way I'm not spending like all this time looking at the ruler and like, oh, is this lined up? And they also have those lines that show up when you're moving things to kind of show you if it's lined up or not. If you use this tool, you don't actually have to worry about it because Canva will do the work for you. So that's a good one that I sometimes forget to use, but definitely worth noting. Okay, so now that's kind of like designing and formatting. This is jumping into the element category of Canva, which if you ask me, it just like keeps growing and growing, which I love. But I'm also worried about like at some point, are they going to be like, it costs a lot of money and then it's going to go away? I hope not, because it's sometimes I worry it's too good to be true. But looking for elements, whether it's graphics, photos, videos, there's the filter button up here that is helpful if you know what specifically you're looking for. You know, as librarians, we know how to filter our search results, whether we're searching on a catalog or a database. Kind of the same thing here, using this tool to help you narrow down so you're not overwhelmed with the amount of resources you get is helpful. So some of the ways you can narrow your results down, color, and you can also match. This one's actually the matching the color. So over here I have a picture of a caterpillar and I really want to use this green color, but I want something other than a caterpillar. So over here, I just search the word bugs and I go over here to this filter icon. And in my filter icon, I'm copying the color code from the graphic here. And then it's giving me results of all the graphics Canva has that match this exact color code. So this is great too, because sometimes you can steal the color code off other images. So let's say you have a school mascot. You could drop the mascot picture in here, or the color that you use for your library logo. If you have it within Canva, you can color the copy code and find images to match. It also works with like your background if you want it to fit the theme, copying that color code and pasting it into the filter to draw the similar images. You can also find this similar style of graphics. When you click on an image, they have the Magic Recommends, and then once you go into Magic Recommends, they're going to show you some of the similar styles. The other thing that you can do from there is you can go into the specific creator's name by clicking on it, and you can see what's in their library. You could even search that library's, that creator's library for a specific thing. So I know I use this one a lot when I'm trying to use, if I use graphics that are letters like ABCs to make some sort of sign. If I want to find the matching letter, I'll just go to Magic Recommends and then click on the creator's name. And then I can just be searching in the creator's account of what they've made to find the letters or the images that match, rather than like going back into Elements. Now I'm searching for the letter E and having to scroll through all the E's that are created. I can scroll through a more narrow search result that is just the creator.
Someone has a comment about, and I agree with this, about the couple slides back with the color matching and the different color sets that they will show you. Here are all the colors that are used in this particular graphic or design. That really makes something look very cohesive. If you're not sure, also, you know, if you're an actual graphic designer, you've been taught like color theory, or you've learned color theory and all that, it really helps you if you see something you think that looks really good together. Yes, these colors go together. Use them all in this particular design that you're doing, or this project that you're doing, and it will suggest you like all these colors. Here they are. You don't have to know the color code or anything. Yeah. Just grab them and use them, and you make something that looks like, and that's what I love about Canva just in general. Makes you look like a real professional graphic designer.
Yeah, it makes you look like a professional when it maybe took you about 10 minutes, maybe 20. So we like a shortcut. Yeah. I kind of started hinting at this already, but like going to find the creator's specific library, you can select the graphics creator, and then you can search their content specifically if you have a theme or colors that you like. Removing the background from pictures. This is huge. If you don't use this already, amazing. So I just had a picture of a chef over here with the background of her in a kitchen. I'm not going to try, but anytime you have an image, you can just click on it and click background remover. It doesn't work 100% of the time, but I would say a good solid 95% of the time, it'll remove the background from the picture, and then it'll just be the floating person or the floating icon. It doesn't work with graphics, but any photos, it will work. And it also does work with videos, I found out. Just diving into apps, I have some specific apps I go to. Their app library within Canva is pretty extensive, but just know that's at the very bottom down here underneath projects. You can search different apps. One time, yep, I showed my students this one, the GIFs. Great idea, and also terrible idea, because that's all they cared about, adding into their projects. And I was like, okay, pace yourself, one GIF per project kind of thing. But there's other ones embedded into the apps, which we'll dive into here. So if you are ever needing some sort of marketing tool, they have an app called Mockups. And this is great if you're marketing like a new website, a new catalog, or if you like are selling merchandise for your library or your school. You can create one of these mock-ups. So they have all these different pictures for you to choose from. And then what you can see here is the image that looks like clouds and grass. That's actually a place where you can drag and drop your file into. So you can have a picture of this cell phone here, drag in your flyer, and then put it all together into like a really good marketing campaign. So I think that's great to use when you're trying to advertise or market your space and your items. Changing a word multiple times, just like in Google Docs and other Word documents. If you go up to File, Find and Replace, you can change the word on a whole slideshow, on every document, all at once rather than having to do it individually. I just did this last week when I was working on some robotic worksheets for my students. It specifically said Bbot. We didn't have Bbots, we have something else. So I was able to go through, and anytime it said Bbot, I would change it to what we had instead. And it was like multiple pages of worksheets, so I just did it once and I didn't have to worry about going through every page of the worksheet. I've also done this with calendars, changing the year, things like that. Saving your favorite content. I forget to do this, but it's a good one to know. If there's a specific graphic or picture that you like, when you go to the 3 dots up in the corner, you can give it a star and it adds to like a favorite folder for you. You can also organize it by adding into different folders within Canva, like add it to my library display folder or add it into my project folder. So you can organize images, you can use different templates that you like, graphics, and that way you're not always searching like and trying to find something like, oh, I used this bookshelf one time, I really liked it, I don't know where it is. It's somewhere saved for you that you can find it easy in your favorites. This is a fun one, especially if you're a teacher or just giving a presentation. So anytime that you are in a presentation, you can push some of these fancy things. Like right now, if I push B.
Yeah.
Oh, did that not work? Oh, it's being funny. Probably did not like me doing that because it's a video of it doing behind. Let me go back to this. So I won't try that again. But if you push B, your screen gets
for a bit there. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, maybe it did actually work. Maybe I'm just being silly. D.
Yep, just drum, confetti. Yep.
Yeah, D for drum roll, C for confetti, 0 for, or O for bubbles, Q for quiet. I haven't tried over 10, but I have used the timer. So if I just push like the number 1, I now have a timer that shows up on my screen, and you can have the volume or go off on it when you're not, and then you just click start timer if you're done. Minimize your timer. I've used that with my students on a project I do. It's called Island Survival. And they have a worksheet that goes with it, but like for part of the project, they have like 5 minutes to pack their bags. So I'll set the timer up on the slide so that they know, okay, in 5 minutes, your bags have to be packed for your trip, kind of thing. Or if I'm doing library centers and I have this pulled up, I'll have my timer going so that they know when to rotate. So that's during presentations. A different side shortcut that I always use is adding text box. Yes, on the side of your menu, you can go over by elements and add text and add a heading or subheading, or you can choose one of their fancy text box. I just go on my screen, as long as you're not selected on any like graphic or picture. Anytime you hit the letter T on your keyboard, you'll automatically get a text box and then can start typing and editing from there. So that's good. Little quick shortcut. Miscellaneous, just some design tips. Sharing your content, you can share it a whole bunch of different ways through Google Drive, Microsoft, social media, messaging, QR codes. You do have to be somewhat cautious of like your organization. So my original Canva account I created with my school email, but it was like my personal account. But when my district adapted Canva Education, my email got pulled into theirs. So ideally, what you can do is like from Canva, I can export my slideshows directly into my Google Drive. However, my district has not connected the two for security reasons. So in order to do that, I have to like download it as a PowerPoint and then go to Google Slides and upload it in. So extra steps, but kind of investigate what your parameters are, because there are some pretty seamless transitions of how to share your content. One of my new favorite ones is I'll do a template link. And so that's just going to share my document, and then I go to more, and then I create a template link. So when I copy this link and I share it, anyone who accesses this link has my exact document. And it's kind of like Google, how they force copy. When that person opens the document, it'll ask them, do you want to make a copy of it? Then you would have your own document to start editing and playing with, and it wouldn't mess with the original creator's work. So I've been doing that with my team, and then at the end of the slideshow here today, I will share a whole bunch of different template links if you see something you like that you can take and run with it. Part of the reason why I like this is because through my investigating, I've had lots of people ask like, hey, is your stuff on Canva? Can I search you as a creator? I'm pretty sure my district has that locked down, so my stuff cannot be publicly out there on Canva. I would totally do it if I could. So this is like my get around. If you want something of mine, I'll just shoot you a template link, and then you guys can take an edit as needed.
On a case by case or item by item basis, give out the correct link.
Yeah. Because if I could, I mean, I'm very much the mentality librarian of, I have a small team. There's 7 of us elementary librarians. I'm not going to create something and not share it with my team, because like, let's work smarter, not harder. Like, we don't all need to individually be doing some of this stuff. Like, let's use the resources we have. So that's very much my mindset with things I create on Canva. Like, oh, yep, I made this. Take it and use it if you want. Ignore, I don't care, but I just want to get if you have.
That's what we as librarians do. We are happy to share what we do with everyone. My director here has his phrase. When we see something we like or we want to share something, he uses the R&D, that rip off and duplicate, and I mean that in the nicest way.
Yeah, it's not my job to be like the hoarder of information or the hoarder of resources. Like, here you go, take it, do what you need. And even like going back to like why I love talking about Canva so much, like if I can teach one person 2 or 3 new things about Canva, what they can do, and then they go out and they show their colleague, you know, it's just kind of that ripple effect of like, I love this so much, I want other people to love it, and I don't care if it's 1 person or 20 people or 80 people, you know, just showing little things here and there. I know this presentation has a lot, but if you walk away with like, hey, I learned how to do 3 new things on Canva, like that makes my heart happy, because then it'll make life easier and make you more successful. So that's my little spiel. Okay, so now there is more to Canva than just some of those basic stuff. So now we'll jump into a little bit of their updates that they've had over the past year. And some of these are great updates, and some of them I can't honestly tell you a lot about, but I'll do my best. They now have Canva Sheets. So think of it as Google Sheets or Numbers or Excel, whatever spreadsheet document you're using. They have their own version of that in Canva. They have templates that you can use, and they also have their Magic AI, which we'll get into, where you can have it generate charts, bar graphs, line graphs, circle graphs, all those things, using data you have. And it could be data from a spreadsheet you already create, or you could plug in your data. They also have formulas to generate. So this is great. I tried to do a yearly, annual report for my district. And we do, you know, things from circulation statistics to database usage. And now that I have the spreadsheets within Canva, I can create some quick and easy graphics to embed into my documents that have all the data, and again, make it look cute and pretty and professional, all but pretty easily. So that's
colorful graphics is what catches people's attention, and that's what they can like easily absorb than just a block of text numbers. And
like if I put like this school had this amount of checkouts and this one has this amount, like, okay, great. But then once you see the graphs, and then I mean, as librarians, we kind of know this too, but I also like comparing to past data. And so looking at how the data and the trends have changed, like having that nice graphic to go along with the numbers, it makes it quick and easy for admin to read, because we all know, or like the higher ups, we all know they don't have the time, and a lot of times they don't really care that much about it, but we want them to understand. So by having like these quick graphics and these bar graphs and things like that, they can quickly glance at it within a minute or two and understand what we're trying to convince and portray. So all within that. Code for Me. So this is the one that I can tell you a little bit about, but not a ton. So they have this new program called Code for Me, which is built in within their AI. I can get it to work up until it's created, and then it doesn't work for me. And again, I think it's just one of those district limitations that I have set on my account. But you can tell Canva AI to create something for you in code. So I did an example of like, hey, I want a game that will do this. I want, recently I tried to do, I want a matching game with Dewey Decimal numbers and some examples of books so students can match what goes together. And so Canva will create a whole entire code, and you can see over here in the video, it's just writing all of the lines of code for you. And then it will actually create that you can upload into a website. Now, from what I've seen and played with, it only lets you take the HTML code that they create and put it into a Canva website. It does not let you copy the code and take it elsewhere. I think once this code finishes, which it takes, sometimes it does take several minutes, it shows you what the code does, but it doesn't actually show you the HTML anymore. So you are stuck to Canva, I think, once that code is created. But if you're like me and using Canva quite frequently, it is pretty great. But yeah, that's what happens to me. It like shows it to me and then it doesn't actually work. But maybe play with it and let me know how awesome it is, because it looks cool, but I can't anymore. This is the huge, big update. I think this is my favorite update of Canva's big push out from the spring, is that you can combine different design formats all into one document. So in the past, I kind of mentioned we did one school and book in our district or in our building. When we do that, we'll create a sneak peek trailer videos. We'll do like a fun like big reveal. We have a family night where we do 10 different stations with different activities. We'll do a commercial for that station. And in the past, every time I create one of these documents, it would have to be a new document. Like, here's the video document, here is the slideshow document, here's the worksheet for this station, here's all 10 posters for the different rooms and the signs for the rooms. And I have to put all of them into 10 different documents, or however I ended up with. And then to organize them, I could put those 10 documents into like one folder on Canva called One School Book 25. But now with this new update, you can create all of those documents for one project within one document, if that makes sense. So like down here in this video, I'm pulling a poster, I'm going to pull a video, I'm going to pull a spreadsheet, and it's all going to be in one place rather than having 50 million documents for this. Now I just have one document for this event or this project. And then from here, you can still export individual pages or individual parts. So let's say like over here, slide number 16, like this is a video clip. When I go to export, I can specifically say, I just want slide 16 from this project. I want to export it as an MP4 file, and then that will save. And then so you can take and pick and download and share what you want, but then at least from the organization standpoint, everything's just in one place, which I think is really big, and probably should remember to use it a little bit more now, but it's just a nice big change. So Canva AI, this is the big game changer, and so much so that I actually teach my students about Canva AI. That's my next big fun project with my 6th graders right before winter break. We're going to jump in and do some of this with them, which is fun. So just to know that Canva Create, up at the top, you probably have noticed this before. They have the Canva AI where you can tell it, create a poster reminding students books are due May 16th. I want it colorful and like summer theme. And you can tell Canva what to create and describe what you'll see. Canva will take a couple minutes and then it will provide you with multiple different options. Like, hey, what do you think of these? From there, you can give it more and tell it to tweak certain things or change certain parts, or you can just open the document and jump in and start editing yourself. So this is another like even quicker sub plans for me. I need a worksheet where students are learning about this. They need 10 questions, create a worksheet for me. And that will be something that they can do pretty easily within there. You can ask it to craft a document as well. This is kind of what I was just talking about, create a worksheet to use. Great for teachers and sub plans or something quick to go with a project or research. Creating AI images, and this is where I get into using this with my students. You are limited to 500 credits is what I've seen a month, which is basically 500 AI images, which I don't know who would use 500 AI images a month, but
That's a
what
lot.
yeah.
Wow.
But for example, so my 6th graders are about to do a project on the 7 wonders of the ancient world. And while there are pictures out there available of them, they're not the most exciting or engaging. So what I teach my students is you go into the magic media and you can decide if you want an image, you want a graphic or a video, but you can see I'm describing, I want the hanging gardens and I want people around and I want it to be evening and sunset. And so then what Canva will do is using your description, it will create an image based on what you want. It'll give you 4 different options, and then from there you can choose which option you like the best to add into your document. So, and I will say each time you change or edit or better describe your picture, that counts as like 1 of your credits, but I've never had an issue of it running out before. And it's not perfect. When I teach it next week, I kind of let my students go crazy and have fun with it. So I'll do something crazy like, I want a picture of a chihuahua running in a field with a UFO behind abducting a cow. Like something totally absurd. It's not perfect, but then that kind of gets them excited to see like what you can do with AI and how crazy it is. I had a 6th grade student last year. He's obsessed with Shrek. Well, Shrek is kind of like, if you think about the copyright and who owns it and things like that, like if you use some of those words, it will say, nope, it can't generate that. So then you have to tweak a little bit. Okay, I want a green ogre, and then it will create something similar-ish. But it's really fun to see what the students create and like using it to specifically say what I need. And not just for like research projects, but you could even use it within your library. I think I've used it before, like I want to pick a video of 3 students reading in the library on the floor, something like that, and it'll create a video for me to use for some promotion that I'm working on. Magic Edit is great. Once you click on an image, you can go Magic Edit and change something. So over here on the desk, I'm just highlighting a little area that I want, and then I'll go to continue and I'll describe what I want to do in that spot. So in this specific one, I want to add a stack of books. And then when I generate, it'll go through it and it will add, here's 4 different options of how you could add books to your picture. Or you can also not just add documents or add things into the images, you can also tweak what the picture looks like based on, I want the shirt to be blue instead of red, things like that. This Magic Edit, this part right here, my students don't have access to, but pro versions would. But you can see I can just add a random stack of books to the picture. Correcting images, this is a fun one. I use this a lot in personal life too, but if there is something in the background that I don't want, when I go into Magic Eraser, I can click, so like right now I just clicked on this backpack behind the teacher and Canva AI will make it disappear. The smaller the object and the further away, the easier it is to work. I tried to do it with like a car and it didn't work great, but you can kind of see even just like my student just disappeared. Not perfect, but it's getting better and better as AI progresses, which is crazy. Kind of like my iPhone now, I can go in and I can erase different people and things in the background of pictures.
Yeah, the like photos that you take on your phone. Yeah, that's what I was saying. That reminds me of that. Yeah.
You know, you get this beautiful travel shot on your vacation, but there's like all these people in the background. This is kind of the same way that the new iPhone update does Magic Eraser, where you can get rid of the things in the background and AI will supplement and fill it in for you. You can Magic Grab. So you can grab something of an image and pull it and move it somewhere else. So here's a lady in front of the bookshelf. When I go to Magic Grab, I want to grab her and the stack of the books. I don't want it in the middle of the picture. I want her actually off to the side. So maybe I can add some text. So when I go to grab, it's going to sort through her. And then I can take just that part of the picture and I can move it to somewhere else in the picture. Oh yeah, so then now I can move her. And again, it's not perfect because you can see the books. Some of it didn't grab everything, but you can shift and adjust pictures, which is kind of cool. And move them away. And then it will fill the spots that were also already hidden. Changing backgrounds again is another one. So here's a girl at a park. I want to change the background to something else. Oh, she's in elementary school. There she goes. So another AI feature you can change. So there's a lot of like photo editing and graphic editing available through Canva's AI, which is kind of a game changer, I think, in just graphic design in general. So now I have a couple, again, I like how they provide you with different options so you can narrow down like which one best fits your needs, but then you can change the background. And then AI videos. This one, it does take a lot longer. I don't even think we'll go through the whole thing, but here's an example, a boy and a girl reading in the library. And then you can also, a lot of times, choose the styles. You can choose what kind of like vibe you want it to have, so to speak. And then you generate your videos. And like we all know, AI is great. There are some limitations, especially when you're using it in Canva. It's not going to be perfect. They also have, just beyond the picture editing, you can now go into add an AI voice. So here's like a book review I pulled for one of my favorite books, The Night Gardener. So when I go into AI voice, I can paste that text, and Canva will create an audio file of that being read, and you can customize the voice as well as to like which sound you want it to have. And I think this AI voice and just voice recording over is one of the other really big things that I appreciate in the new Canva updates. And maybe I'm jumping ahead of myself here in a second, but in the past, if I created something and I wanted my voice, I would have to record a video of myself reading or saying what I needed to say. And then I would hide it behind all these different layers because I didn't actually want my face. I just wanted my voice.
You just wanted to voice over the, yeah.
And that wasn't an option for the longest time, but now you can actually do your own voiceover, or you can use AI, because I know some of my students are very not like, I don't want to hear my voice in my project. I'm like, okay, great. So let's go to Canva AI and you can just type what you want it to say and it will do the work for you. So kind of relieves some of the stress for them.
Sometimes don't like to hear your own voice. I don't. When I'm listening to recordings of myself, like this show, when I have to edit it later, I'm always like cringing at myself.
Yeah, you can be like, here's all these like little clips of my face just looking at paper and reading. Like that's what I used to do. And also now with that Canva AI and recording your voice, you can also add captions. So like this is our family night commercial we did, and I added captions for our parents before we shared it out on social media. And your captions, we know that sometimes it's not perfectly catching what you're saying. You can go in and you can edit the text so it does match what you're actually saying if it doesn't pick up everything correctly. You can add specific text into a slide. I want to summarize what landforms are. Canva AI will write it for you and you can tweak as needed. I've done this a lot for like little last minute projects I need for kids to do. Like I need a slideshow on cars. Tell me 3 slides about the history of cars, and it will go ahead and it will like summarize. I've compared what like Gemini and ChatGPT and Canva AI writes. Canva, I'm going to be honest, is not my favorite writing tool for AI. I don't like the wording always, so I will still use other platforms too if I'm writing something or need some text, and then I'll copy it into Canva. But it's not terrible, just not my favorite. Translating text is huge. So if you need something translated into a different document or a different language, I had a student last year who came from Mexico and was fluent, so I was able to take all of our Canva worksheets and instantly translate it into Spanish for her, and it would create a whole copy of the document. And I believe there's hundreds of different languages that you can choose from. So you can change it on that specific slide, or you can create a whole new document with the different languages that you need.
Good question. How accurate is the translation? I mean, this is something that's an issue with AI in general, that it gives out wrong information, and
Yeah.
you know, how is it translation wise?
So I mean, my experience is just from an elementary library perspective. I have not seen any huge issues with translation, but I'm also not translating a whole lot of text at once. And I typically am lucky enough, I'm Spanish and French are about what I use. So I will have someone double check and just glance over it, but I can't honestly say how accurate it is, but I think it's using things like Google Translate to do some of this. So similar to that is what I would assume.
And if the student didn't come back to you and say, none of this makes any sense to me, then you'd know it was a total disaster.
Yes. You can use AI to create a quiz within a slide. So it'll ask a question here within a slideshow. The only downside is like it's not a quiz for the whole slideshow, it's a quiz per page on there. And there's a, generate a quiz. I only have a couple minutes left. I'm going to flip before I go to the idea page. I don't have it on this, but I did want to show because this is what I've been working with my students. So I'm going to switch over my screen. Can you still see? Okay. So this is my like school side of page. I was just having my 5th grade students create an all about me poster that they were working on. And you can see some other projects. But so like, for example, I want my students to work on all about me. When I create a document, if you are an educator and your students have access to Canva, I have this document here. I'm going to go over here to share. I'm going to go to assign. I can go assign students to Canva or Google Classroom, and I can like create a class, or I can start typing in some of my students' names, and it sends the document straight to them. They get a copy of the document to work on. They edit it, and then they can send it directly back to me in Canva, which is kind of cool. And then in Canva, when I see their work is finished in classwork. So like I have, here's the project I sent out yesterday. I can see who's still in progress. I can see who's done. And these I've like marked done. So if I go to a student's work, I can add a comment, say, hey, I need you to fix this. I need you to do this. So it's more than just like, I'm going to print out the page. This is where I've been kind of diving into. It's more than just like, here, I'm going to print out a page and have my students use it. I'm now having my students engage with it electronically and kind of share it through Canva, which is kind of great. So have another quick little update. Just the last kind of few slides on this slideshow are just different things I've made just to give ideas. The genre poster I mentioned earlier, like I said, I don't have a para or an aid or whatever. So if I want something quick for a good book display, hungry for a good book, made a poster, I went and pulled all these books with different food themes. And all of these should be linked to make a template so that you can edit as yourself. If some of those don't work, please email me, reach out. I'm happy to share and fix anything that needs to be. Just some new signage that I've used in the library in the past couple years. Advocacy. Here's an example of what our annual report looks like, what I share out on social media. And this is just a fun little menu of services that we provide in our district. Theme weeks, these are some of our Read Across America weeks that we've done with different themes and weeks and making some cute posters. This year we're doing literacy lab, so like a science theme for our Read Across America week. Research packets, like I said earlier, I grade students in library class and teach every quarter based on, we adapted the AASL standards and kind of tweaked it for us. So we do a lot of research and inquiry projects. My packets I make in Canva because I want them to be cute. And then once I have a format, you'll kind of see there's a lot of similarities in these, but these are different research packets. And I like being able to create my own because then I can tailor it to the specific databases. Like we use PebbleGo. My dinosaur report matches exactly what my students are seeing on PebbleGo to help that process be a little bit easier for her or them. So yeah, that's a lot in a short amount of time, but here's
there's
my
a lot in Canva, yeah.
question, ask, you know, like, how does this work? What could work for this? Like I said, I'm happy to help in whatever way make your Canva usage better or easier.
Great. We do have a question that did come in about when you were doing the work with the students.
Yeah.
Canva privacy compliant in terms of student work submitted via Canva. How does it handle the privacy for the students?
So the only people that can, I mean, obviously I can show it to you guys because my screen was shared, but the way it works for our students is, and I kind of mentioned this earlier, we're not joined with Google, so they join with an email account, which is their Google account, and then their work is shared directly with me and only me, and then I can provide comments and go back and forth with them. As far as their privacy, they're not able to like get out and share with anyone outside of our like domain, if that makes sense, is from what I understand.
Okay, that sounds good. And I will mention, because as you were showing that, I'm going, when I do the recording for this, I'm gonna because we have
Nope.
I'm gonna blur out any of the students' personal information in there before the recording gets posted.
I was like, oh, I can see first and last names on this, but
it's okay. Yeah, no, I will do that. We use, I have software here that I've done it with other things where people have accidentally like shared their email or something like that.
It's one of those, like, it's worth knowing, like, it's so seamless and so easy to, you know, like, this is something I just learned within, like, I knew I could do it, and then yesterday I was like, okay, let's try it, and like, oh yeah, that is really a breeze to do.
Yeah, let me see here. Just looking at something here. Yes, someone is asking about your email address there on the slide. It is kind of difficult to read because of the font, but it is kenny.kelly@westside66.net.
Yeah. Let's do that.
So it is the usual dots are in there that you would have. There we go.
A little bit better. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, if you just have any questions, we are right at 11 o'clock, but that's okay. We started a little after 10, and we will go as long as you all have any questions you want to ask of Kelly, or anything you want to share, type into that question section. We do have a good question here. You mentioned it earlier, but do you have any tips for making sure creations are accessible, or what to consider in that regard?
Yeah, I think a lot of it is just like for my students, like a live and learn sort of thing. I try to make it for, like, if I think about like students versus my teacher, I try to make it simple and like as user friendly as possible, which a lot of times what that will look like is I make something and then I'm like, wait, this is totally like, this needs to be fixed and tweaked. If I think about like some of those research projects, my original template has changed from year to year to make it more accessible for students. Like one of my fonts is one of my fonts that I use is a penmanship one, where it like has my students be able to write and record within. Let's do dinosaurs. So making it more, my designs. Making it more accessible for my students based on like writing and what they can do and simplifying. For sharing, really the template link and just is the best way I've found for it about like making my stuff accessible to people in my district and sharing it out. But I'm not sure if that quite answers the question.
All right. What other questions do people have you want to ask of Kelly? Or is there anything you've been using, if you've used Canva to do anything that you wanted to, tips or tricks or whatnot? I've learned a lot of things that I probably don't use it as much of the features as I could when I use it. There's just so many things in there, and sometimes I've discovered things by accident. Or just by stumbling across, oh, I can actually move things from front to back, lock things, put things in groups, all those kind of things. Other question. So in terms of accessibility, are we talking more about alt text, alternative text, ADA compliance? Good question. I don't know. Is that what the question was about being that kind of accessible? Or is that, do you have anything? Yes, that's what he's wondering about. Do you have any tips about that, about making it like alternative text or?
I have not played with it enough to like feel confident on the statement on that one, but I am assuming with like the features that I've used, you could easily make like the voice to text and some of that stuff embedded.
I did have that the captioning there. You saw that, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's there. I just haven't played around with it.
Someone who did mention earlier that they do. Oh no. Yeah, someone does say they must be using it. You can add alt text to any image, and it will magic write it for you. So yes, it does have that ability feature. Yeah.
Yep, I figured it's there somewhere.
So we're not sure if it's actually included, but you can definitely add it. Yes.
Yeah.
All right. What other questions? Anything else that you want to see Kelly demo or show again? As you said, the slides will be available with all those videos. I thought it was great. Those videos already there, ready, showing exactly what you were doing. That'll all be available when we do get the recording. And I think I'm gonna pull presenter control back to my screen just for a bit here, just to the end here. Is it showing? Yeah, all right, good. So yeah, someone said, love Canva. Thanks for the tips and fun ideas. We all do love Canva, yeah. So as I said, the recording will be available. So I wanted to mention one thing here before I do my wrap up is I actually use Canva mainly for this event that we are having in February, our annual Big Talk from Small Libraries online conference. The call for speakers is open now through this Friday if you want to submit a proposal. But over here, I've got our Facebook and our Instagram. I use Canva to create this graphic. It was a pre-made design of just photos look like they're hanging from a clothesline or a rope. And I put in, these are actually photographs of libraries, public libraries here in Nebraska. That I was able to use Canva to put them into these, and it just pop them in as I imported them into Canva. And I've just been using this for the last few years, just kind of like you were talking about, like the brand of this. If you look through all the previous photos, every year I change the color scheme. Like last year it was in blue, and then all of these graphics for reminding people about it. This is all Canva. And what's great about this photograph, all of it is copyright protected, not protected, but it's you're allowed to use it. It's not any of the photos that you find that are in there. It actually says these are been provided for this purpose. You're not stealing someone's art out there. So I just borrowed things that were in the system. This one as well. This silhouette here, I actually pulled in from, I used Unsplash, UNSPLASH. Unsplash is a website where you can, separate from Canva, that you can find photographers and artists put their photos up there purposefully for people to use. So you're not breaking copyright by taking something they don't want you to use. I grabbed that and then I imported it into Canva and made my design. And all of my little Meet the Speakers is from last year's Canva. Yep, I have like I said, I have a template now, and I just change the color and the pictures and everything every year. So yeah, all right. Just like if we have any other questions, I think I will do my wrap up. But I will say yes. So Big Talk from Small Libraries is the annual conference we do. It is sponsored by the Association for Rural and Small Libraries. So if you are a small or rural library, this is a great event for you. It's always the last Friday of February every year. So it is next year. It is Friday, February 27th. And the call for speakers is open right now through this Friday. So if you are a small library or you know of someone who's in a small or rural library of any type, submit a proposal. We generally try to keep to all of our speakers. This is from small libraries, so it's just the library presentations. We try to keep to 10,000 FTE or population served or below. So we are talking the little places. We have 15-minute sessions, and we have lightning rounds over our lunchtime. So if you just don't have something, like I don't have a full hour that I could even talk about this, but I have some cool thing I want to share, but it's only going to take me a few minutes, that's perfect. We've got lightning round sessions over the lunch hour time. So 10 minutes, only need to speak for 10 minutes. So please do submit your proposal or spread the word to other libraries who might be interested in presenting for next year's conference. This is an annual conference. We've got all our previous recordings here, so you can see what it was like on previous years and see what has been presented and how it goes. And this is the 15th annual. It was our 15th year, oh my gosh, of Big Talk from Small Libraries. So please do submit proposals and spread the word about the conference. And then that, we will wrap it up for today's NCompass Live. Thank you so much, Kelly, for coming back and sharing all your Canva tips and tricks and wisdom. It's very useful. And I did do some research. Someone was asking, actually, asked about the nonprofit aspect, the nonprofit option for libraries. And the nonprofit is actually the pro version. You get the pro version of Canva as signing up as a nonprofit, but you do have to be a nonprofit and not a government entity, which means the public library. So if you're a public library, you would not be able to get nonprofit. You would need your library foundation or your friends group to apply. And then you can use, like this library said, they use their foundations. The foundation is a 501c3. That's who actually has the account, and the library uses that because they're part of it. So your friends group or your foundation could apply. There are also governmental accounts, government pricing as well that I found by digging into that too. So your city, your municipality, possibly for the whole municipality, might want to look into that. But if you're a public library, look at your friends group or foundation being the nonprofit. If you're education, go for the education pricing. If you're a school or academic, so dig into that. As I say, today's show has been recorded. If we go to our main NCompass Live page, which I have here, yep. If you use whatever is your search engine of choice and type in NCompass Live, you will find our main page and our archive page. Here's your upcoming shows, and our archive link is right underneath here. The most recent show will be at the top of the list. Should be posted by the end of the day tomorrow at the very latest. Kelly sends me the link, or however you're going to share the slides. I'm not sure. I assume it's going to be a link into your Canva.
Yeah. Yep. Do that right now.
Just send me that. I'll get everything uploaded to YouTube, and then everyone who registered for today's show and attended will get an email from me letting you know when it's ready. We also push out on our social media. We do have a go back. There we go. We do have a Facebook page for NCompass Live. So if you do like to use Facebook, give us a like. We reminders. Here's a reminder to log into today's show. A reminder about Big Talk. Presenter information, and then when recordings are available, we also post on here as well. We also push out to the Nebraska Library Commission's Instagram account. So if you're on Instagram, look for the hashtag #NCompLive. Our Big Talk from Small Libraries also does have its own Instagram as well. Please do follow us there if you want to be notified about things happening with Big Talk from our Instagram or our Facebook page for that. We have a search feature here for our show archives. If you want to see if we've done a show on a particular topic, type that in here. You can search the full show archives or just the most recent 12 months if you want something just very current. That is because this is our full show archives, and I'm not going to scroll all the way down because, as you can see, this is a huge page. It's not the most elegant thing, but it's what we're doing for now. But this does have our full show archives going all the way back to when NCompass Live premiered, which was in January 2009. So this year, 2025, is the 17th year of NCompass Live. So do beware when you're watching the show of the original broadcast date of anything we have on here. Some of the shows we find to watch stand the test of time, be good, useful information, but some things become old or outdated. Resources may have changed drastically. Links might be broken. People are going to work at different institutions than when they presented for us, et cetera, et cetera. But just, keeping it, make sure you pay attention to when something was originally done. But this is something libraries do, as we just talked at the beginning earlier. We share things and we keep things for historical purposes as well. That's what we're doing with this. And as long as we have somewhere to keep all of our show archives, which right now is the Library Commission's YouTube channel, we will always have them up there for anyone to watch and see what we were doing way back in 2019, 2020, as far back as the show goes. All right. So thank you so much, Kelly. This was great information. I'm very happy to have you on again. Maybe you'll come back again in another few years and tell us what other new things Canva has come up with since this time.
Definitely.
All right, so here's our upcoming schedule. Next week's NCompass Live, and the next one after that are our kind of combo shows: Best New Children's Books of 2025 and Best New Teen Reads of 2025. Sally Snyder, our here at the Library Commission, she does our Children's and Young Adult Library Services Coordinator. She gives book talks every year about the most recent books of the year, and she's got her 2 shows coming up next week, Children's, and then the first show of 2026 on January 7th, Best New Teen Reads. So please do sign up for those and our other upcoming shows. You see, we are taking a couple weeks off, with it being Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve. Taking a couple weeks off at the end of the year. So we will be off after next week's show, off for 2 weeks, and then back on January 7th, starting up 2026. So thank you everyone for being here. Thank you, Kelly. Good to see you again. And hopefully we'll see you all on a future episode of NCompass Live. Bye-bye.
Thank you.